Hey cats, so today I'm showcasing a Chad Lefkowitz-Brown SYOS signature mouthpiece. Now before we get into exactly what this mouthpiece is, just a little word on the company SYOS. So it stands for Shape Your Own Sound, and they are a Paris-based company, and they've got this unique thing going on whereby you guys, the customers, can log onto their website and go through a customization process to select the perfect mouthpiece for you. And the way this works is they ask you various questions about the kind of sound that you're interested in, the current mouthpiece that you're already playing on, the exact model and the tip opening, and then specifically certain sort of tonal aspects to the sound, such as the tonal color you like, whether it's dark or bright, and there's a sliding scale in order to select exactly the right thing for you on that. And then they have this sliding scale within the power range as well, whether it's very powerful or the opposite. And again, there's this sliding scale. So once you've gone through this process and you've selected the all-important color, because they are famous for their bright colors, and you've got the tip opening down, you can order this mouthpiece. It gets sent to your door. You try it out for a period of time, and then within that they've got this returns policy. So if you don't get it quite right the first time, you can send it back to them and repeat this operation over and over if you have to. And you might sort of be thinking, well, how can they afford to do that at first, right? Because that sounds expensive. Well, that takes me on to the process and the way by which they manufacture their mouthpieces. Again, completely unique. They are 3D printed mouthpieces. They use ABS plastic in order to do this. And I'm guessing that this method of producing a mouthpiece is relatively cheap compared to most standard sort of CNC processes that the likes of Jody and Theo would use, for example, such that they can just sort of keep turning over the mouthpiece until they get it just right for you. So it's a really clever idea, and it does really open the door for people trying to find that perfect mouthpiece for them. It's not for everyone. There's a lot of commentary online where some people are perhaps dissing the process slightly, but then there's plenty of players out there playing on these mouthpieces, and lots of top artists who are very happy with what they have got. So that brings me on to the next phase of their operation, which is their signature mouthpieces, where they've collaborated with top players, and they've gone through this process with these guys, and these players are very happy with their mouthpieces. They use them out and about in gig scenarios. And beyond that, SYOS actually market these mouthpieces on their website. And we are doing the same now with this one here. As I say, this is the Chad LB mouthpiece. Very prominent player, obviously he's a beast of a player. And he's got a great sound, right? So we figured it might just be an idea to stock these and appeal to those players who really love what Chad is doing with his playing. Now, I should point out at first, and I'm sure most of you know this, but just because you buy the Chad mouthpiece doesn't mean you sound like Chad. There's so many other factors that go into him sounding like he does, but it's certainly a good starting point if you really love what he's doing. So I just thought it'd be really interesting to stock them, try it out for myself, just to see if I feel like I'm kind of channeling my inner Chad, if you like. So I'm going to give this one a little go right now, and then I'm going to discuss it afterwards. Great stuff. So really powerful sound. One of the parameters with this mouthpiece is that it's really high on the power scale, and it's also very quick to articulate. You know, Chad plays a lot of fast lines, a lot of technical stuff, and he needs to be able to articulate really cleanly. I mean, so do we all, right? But this mouthpiece really assists that process of being able to do that. So I loved it from that point of view. It's got a big, thick core sound. When you drop back, you can really hear that kind of the weight and the core in the sound, which I love. And it goes bright pretty quickly when you push it. So, you know, if you're playing those kind of gigs where you're up against it with the guys behind you and you really need to cut through, then this mouthpiece certainly does that. Goes up into the altissimo very nicely, very cleanly. But yeah, just that heavyweight kind of jazz sound sits right behind there if you need it to do that kind of playing. So a lot of flexibility I'm hearing in this mouthpiece. So I can see why it's appealing to Chad and why he's honed in on these particular settings within this mouthpiece. So, you know, in some ways, if you kind of like this kind of tonality, Chad has done the hard work for you. You could just go for it outright and buy one of these. This is an 8-star tip opening, works very nicely for me. So yeah, you know, I think they've, at first I have to say, going back several years, when I heard about the SYOS operation, I was a little skeptical on certain levels. Just sort of the idea that they're using what some people might sort of perceive as a cheaper material, and certainly the process of 3D printing a mouthpiece doesn't sound like you're going to get the kind of accuracy that you'd expect, you know, for a top level mouthpiece. But just the way it blows, you know, you have to sometimes just take your thinking out of it and react according to what is happening in front of you. And I have to say, it's a very impressive mouthpiece.